Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with another Biden failure. Jesus, man. Come on, man. Joe Biden is every bad president rolled into one at this point. He's got the popularity of, for the most popular president in U.S. history. Seems about as popular as Nixon. He's got the grace of Gerald Ford, as you can see. I don't know if you saw this video. It's unbelievable. It's a video of Biden trying to get up the stairs of Air Force One and failing. He doesn't fall just once. He falls like 3 times. And from the faraway shot, it's literally, remember when I played Get Smart under Biden? It's like an episode of Get Smart. It's like watching Don Adams fall out of frame. Except it's not Don Adams. It's our president. And he is not well. He is not well. Biden tried jogging up the stairs on board Air Force One en route to Atlanta and fell hard on his knee. At first, Biden appeared to trip and step up and quickly caught himself. Biden tripped a second time and used his hand to break his fall, but he couldn't pull himself up. The third stumble took Biden out, and he was completely down on his knees. It's embarrassing. Here it is. Here it is right here. Now this, I think, is a shot from behind. It's like, why are they even doing this? Why would they even risk it at this point? But, this is a team, the Biden team, is about as competent as their videos, which are just awful. So here he is. I think he's supposed to salute the Marines before he goes up. So I don't know why he's rushing, and then he falls, and he falls again. He hurt his knee. He stops to rub it, and then I think he gets all the way up. The faraway shot looks much worse, though. I mean, could he look any more old and feeble? It's just a bad look. Regardless of what you think of the guy, this looks bad. He's supposed to be the president of the United States, the world's last superpower, the leader of the free world. Can't look this weak. We do have enemies. I mean, we don't live in a vacuum where we've crushed everybody underfoot or something. But Biden apparently had time to recover and fire a bunch of his staffers for a history of smoking weed. This is from the National File. Ignoring his crack-smoking Hunter, pot-smoking Kamala. Joe Biden, the father of a crack addict, Hunter Biden, has fired dozens of White House staffers for their history of smoking marijuana. I guess it's just their history? How did they find that out? Biden has suspended and asked for the resignations of dozens of White House staffers for smoking marijuana, including those who smoked it in states where it was legal? That's weird. Why would he do that? This comes after the Biden administration informally told staffers that they would not be punished for their history of smoking marijuana and that they were, quote, much more flexible than previous administrations. 5 Biden White House staffers fired over past marijuana use, says Press Secretary Psaki, according to the tweet. Wow. And they suck. So, I mean, that they're firing people doesn't upset me. It's just more hypocrisy. I mean, it's like they're taking orders from Biden and he's just sort of jumping from thing to thing. Doesn't really have a coherent plan here. Biden's military number one focus, not China, not Iran, but promoting the rights of LGBTQ around the world. This is from the Gateway Pundit, so it's going to get pretty hyperbolic. What an absolute disaster the Obama-Biden administration is turning out to be. The Obama policies made no sense under Obama, and after 4 years of Trump, are even more glaringly insane. U.S. military's top directive in a report this past Wednesday had nothing to do with China or Iran. Its focus was on LGBTQ rights. Their new Secretary of Defense is already tearing apart the department and the morale President Trump brought back to the military in 4 short years. The military loved President Trump, and now they put a report to the senile old man who did something. I can't say that on YouTube because it's about a certain election, and is now pushing LGBTQ rights around the world. This may be a little hyperbolic. It is the Gateway Pundit, but still. Oh, here it is here. This was the first objective in the military's list of priorities. Number 1, promoting and protecting the human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex persons around the world. Wow. That's just nuts. First off, we can't do that. Are we supposed to go to war over Iran because they have very strange rules about gay people? If you're gay in Iran, your choice is to either stop being gay or get a sex change. They're okay with you if you have a sex change, apparently. They're not okay with you if you're gay. It's some weird rule they have. I don't quite understand it myself. So, yeah, and I mean, a sex change is probably dicey enough, even with the best doctors. The ones they got in Iran, I don't know how good they are. No offense, Iranians. I mean, you're not first world. You're second world. Pelosi says Biden has southern border situation under control. U.S. is on track to encounter more migrants than it has in the last 20 years. Another senile old woman who shouldn't be in office. I don't know how she can say the border's under control. It doesn't look like it's under control to me. It looks bad. It looks real bad. And since Biden's dismantling Trump's policies, and he doesn't have to, that's what kills me. He doesn't have to. All right, Squirmy, I'm going to put you on the floor. He doesn't have to dismantle this stuff. He could have just let it go. But he's going back to catch and release, and that's not going to be good. Oops. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, extraordinarily disrespectful to ask me about illegal alien crimes victims. Why? During a hearing before the House Homeland Security Committee Wednesday, Representative Kat Kamek of Florida, Republican, asked Mayorkas about illegal alien crime victims. Mayorkas responded, Congresswoman, I find that question to be extraordinarily disrespectful not only to me, but disrespectful to the men and women of Homeland Security and all the frontline personnel throughout this country who dedicate themselves to safety and security. She responded, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sure the American people feel disrespected about the border situation we're facing right now. Gazing. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to get the border under control. Opening the border is a dumb idea for multiple reasons. You didn't have to do this just to get... Trump is out. Trump is out. You won. How much damage are you going to do just to show that you're right? Here's an interesting commentary. There really isn't a Biden administration. Dan Greenfield, Joe's face is everywhere, but there's no real sign he's actually running anything. In the final months of the Trump administration, House Democrats universally voted to demand the unconstitutional use of the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office. The 25th Amendment was meant to remove presidents who were unable to discharge their duties. President Trump was clearly able to do so, but Biden may be exactly the disastrous scenario the 25th Amendment was created to avoid, and he may be its worst test case. A basic problem with the Biden administration is that there really isn't one. Like most journalists, I use the term as a formality, but the White House site calls it the Biden-Harris administration. It's not unheard of for younger presidents like George W. Bush to lean on more experienced vice presidents, but a politician who spent 46 years in public office letting a newbie like Kamala Harris handle most of the phone calls with foreign leaders is the opposite of that scenario. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. I don't think she's running anything. I think she's gearing up to. But I think it's the people around Biden. Biden's just following their lead. Here's another interesting tidbit, another failure connected to Biden. Biden's inauguration priest suspended by Jesuit school under investigation for unspecified, quote, behaviors in adult settings. What the hell's up with that? Man, everybody connected to Biden seems to have a little bit of a problem in adult situations. But this is the biggest fail, I think, of the Biden administration, and I have to say, so far. China rebukes Biden's foreign policy team, cites Black Lives Matter on U.S. human rights abuses. And this is exactly what the Lotus Eaters were talking about today. How do the Democrats refute it when China says, "Oh, America's a terrible place where the cops are hunting black people"? Yeah, and the Democrats have to go, "Well, yeah, but we're working on it. We're going to fix it." First off, that's not true. It's just not true. I have been an outspoken proponent of police reform for many decades. And even I never thought, well, the cops, they just hunt down black people. There have been racist cops. Most of them existed in the 70s, 80s, back then and before. These days, not so much. That's not the issue. The issue is they have too much power. And they abuse it against everybody. The problem now is the journalists only focused on certain abuses against certain groups of people for their narrative, which they don't want to die. They don't want that narrative to die, so they truncate all the news to just that narrative. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other people getting abused by the cops. And if you saw it all in a balanced way, you'd say, oh, we got a problem with the cops, but it's a much bigger systemic problem than just, well, we've got a problem with racism. These guys go through umpteenth times of discrimination training. They're scrutinized heavily about that kind of stuff already. But now, the way the atmosphere is, these guys don't want to go in any neighborhood with black people in them. Why should they? Why should they risk their careers? Why should they answer a call? Why should any cop in Philadelphia answer a call in a black neighborhood? He knows it's going to get messed up. He's going to avoid it. It's much easier to avoid a call or show up late after all the shooting's over to pick up the bodies than it is to show up and try to save someone. Why should he risk his life when the entire community's against him? He's not going to do it. And then you got a real problem on your hands. You call the cops, they don't show up until you're dead or the shooting stops. Anyhow, China's pointing all this stuff out, but not in any kind of nuanced way. They're just saying, oh, you have the human rights problem, not us. And Biden's guy, did he respond with, well, you guys have concentration camps for the Uyghur Muslims, and you're harvesting their organs and raping them and doing horrible things? Oh, no. Said something much more nuanced and stupid. After all, Biden himself kind of defended the Uyghur concentration camps when he talked about, well, there are cultural differences. And apparently, I guess this was on the Lotus Eaters, they were talking about it. China was supposed to speak for 2 minutes in an opening, and he spoke for 20, just lambasting our guys. And their response was to take it. Why would you take it from these commies? Why would you just sit there? I'd have walked out. Get up. We're done. That's the way you show a little strength. This never would have happened under Trump. He would have been furious. He would have fired everybody who he sent, the entire team, and he would have told China to go pee up a rope, if you know what I mean. Here's what China said about us. China is firmly opposed to U.S. interference in China's internal affairs. On human rights, we hope the United States will do better on human rights. China has made steady progress in human rights. Oh, right. Yeah, you're only murdering people. And the fact that there are many problems within the United States regarding human rights, which is admitted by the U.S. itself as well. See, Democrats? See what you've done to yourself? You put yourself in an impossible position. They're not going to listen to you. You're their bitch because Biden took stacks. The challenges facing the United States in human rights are deep-seated. They did not just emerge over the past 4 years, such as Black Lives Matter. It did not come up only recently. You're going to take it from these guys? Blinken countered that in his discussion with its allies, he was hearing, quote, deep satisfaction that the United States is back and that we're re-engaged with our allies and partners and, quote, deep concern about some of the actions your government is taking. That's the best you can do? Deep concern? He added that a hallmark of American leadership was that the U.S. was willing to admit its mistakes, that it engaged in a constant quest to form a more perfect union, but confronted its challenges openly and transparently. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody believes that. You gotta be kidding me. You absolute... I mean, you want to talk about a fail. It's on Breitbart if you want to watch the incredibly cringe video. But, this is China basically saying, F you. They're not going to listen to us. They have no reason to listen to us now. At least Trump was shaking them up. Biden is like kissing their butts. Biden's not going to pull out anything. Nah. Oh, you're gonna send a few more naval ships to go through the strait near Taiwan. Whoop-de-doo. That's not going to hurt them. What's going to hurt them is a boycott of their products. Tariffs. That's something Trump was really good at, as it turns out. Yeah, it hurt the farmers, but he gave them subsidies. Spends too much money. I'm not totally on board, but point is, Biden's kissing their butts. And Biden's not going to beat them. Biden's weak. He just fell down the stairs 3 times. Oh, but they're still blaming Trump. Donald Trump's Chinese virus tweet led to a rise of anti-Asian hashtags on Twitter. Analysis of 700,000 tweets reveal. I'm going to click off this page because there's too many ads. Thanks, Daily Mail and all the mainstream media who continue to obsess over Trump and what he said, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago now. It was called the China virus or the Wuhan virus because of the location, and which is pretty common. And I can't be the only one to know Ebola and Spanish flu and all the various ailments that are named after a location where they were discovered. It's not racist to say Spanish flu. It's not racist at all. It's perfectly common. This was just a tactic to get at Trump. Again. It didn't work. Again. But hey, at least you can say how wonderful and righteous you are, Democrats. Oh, we're the adults in the room. Yeah, we're losing, but it's okay that we lose. No one wants to lose against China. They're awful. And I know you'll still get your stacks because I'm sure Biden's not the only person getting fat stacks from China. But those fat stacks won't help you when the dollar collapses or when China does start to take over. Won't help you at all. You'll be in the same boat as the rest of us because the money won't be worth jack. And where are you going to go, globalists? Oh, you're going to go to Europe? Well, good luck with that. The European Union's got its own rules, and they're pretty big on passport vaccines. So you better get yourself one of those. Oh, and by the way, everything costs 5 times as much in Europe, especially if you're an American. And especially once the dollar tanks, you're not going to be flitting around Europe spending money. You're going to be like, oh man, I can barely survive here. Same thing. You're not going to be able to go to China. I guess you can go to India. That'll be pretty middle class, except it's like super, super crowded. They got billions of people there too. There's really no place better than the USA, despite all its problems. Oh, but you know better, globalist a-holes. I'm sure you can go to Canada. Well, they'll tax you out the yin-yang. Same thing with the UK. Same thing with most of Europe. Same thing with any place outside the United States. And, it's just a shame. These people are so myopic. So focused on themselves. They're such narcissists. They make me sick. They just make me physically ill to talk about them. Biden continues to fail. We only got another 3 years, 9 months, and 11 days.